You are officially in the loop. Welcome to In the Loop podcast. I am your host, Jordan Joe Hollabaugh, professional rodeo athlete, entrepreneur, and a full-time cowgirl. I'm married to my best friend, and we are blessed to get to do what we love every day, and that is travel around the world and rodeo. My goal on this podcast is to promote the Western industry and specifically the sport of breakaway roping. On In the Loop, we bring you behind-the-scenes stories of what real life looks like every day from cowgirls, cowboys, industry leaders, producers, trailblazers, and all of the like, sharing stories of the Western culture and the lifestyle that they live daily. You are now officially in the loop. Let's get to it. Okay, guys. So today we are here with royalty, Kaelanne Quinonez. I said it right that time.
You did.
We've been working on me saying her last name correctly because I have been butchering it over and over again. She is Miss Rodeo USA 2024. Kaelanne and I had the honor of meeting at the Women's Rodeo Finals. The Women's Rodeo Finals was so good for me. Like, I met so many amazing people there. And I'm just like trying to have every one of y'all on my show because I am like a squirrel brain. And, you know, I'm like, ooh, that person, let's have them on the podcast. Let's talk about all the things. So royalty, you look beautiful today. You guys, if you're not watching us on YouTube and you want to see what we look like, I look ratchet. Kind of got my Yeti ball cap on and my hoodie. I've been working out, but Kaelanne looks amazing. So you can go watch us on YouTube on In the Loop podcast with Jordan Joe. But tell me, where are you at in the world today, Kaelanne? What do you have going on? What is life like today in Miss USA?
Yes. So currently I'm in Texas, but that's not going to last long. I'll be in Arkansas and Oklahoma in the next 2, 3 weeks. And that's basically what the year as Miss Rodeo USA has looked like. It's really been nonstop since March. March until a couple days ago, I was on the road full time. So what is that, like 4 months on the road? Just rodeo, rodeo, rodeo. That was kind of my like spring tour, and then we're getting ready for the summer run. Everybody's getting ready for the summer run, cowboys, cowgirls, um, and that'll be coming up here pretty soon as well. But it's been an amazing experience just being able to travel from state to state to see different parts of the United States, to really get to see them, spend time in those communities, and just be able to represent rodeo.
Well, and I love how you said, you know, I was on the road for 4 months. We are just gearing up as professional rodeo athletes to hit the trail for 2024. Our summer run starts off, you know, you always hear everybody is starting off at Reno, and that pretty much start your summer off. And we're packing, getting ready to leave for 4 months of, I call it trailer hibernation, right?
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
it is absolutely thrilling and fun, but I don't really think let's talk about what it's like being on the road and actually living out of your trailer for 4 months. You were crowned in January of 2024 at the IPRA finals in Guthrie, Oklahoma. An amazing experience. I want to talk about that here in a second, but what is it like? You know, because for me as a breakaway roper,
Mhm.
right? My priorities are my husband, my dog, oh, yeah, my breakaway ropes, gotta get some horses in there, and then it's
Mhm.
like, after that, then, you know, we'll fit the necessities we can barely get in. What is it like being a Miss Rodeo USA on the road in a truck and trailer for 4 months and pretty much throughout the year? I'm gonna say, like, probably 10 months if you add it all up overall. There's
Basically.
probably 2 months you're, you know, back and forth at home. What all do you have to take? What does that look like? How many like, do you have 4 slide outs? I mean, because I know you guys I never see you wear the same thing. Talk
We
about what
try
it's
not to.
like.
So it's kind of incredible, and actually, so I was living out of my truck basically, so no trailer attached, and just truck. Just thank goodness I have a long bed because I packed that sucker full of everything. And then we have some amazing sponsors, so I took with me what I had, and then Miss Rodeo USA has some fantastic sponsors like Pro Hats, Rock and Roll Denim and Corral, and I got a lot of those items on the road, so my truck just kept filling up and filling up and filling up. And it's a great problem to have. I was like, I'm running out of room, but that's also our job as rodeo queens, is to promote those sponsors because they really help. They make what we do possible. But yeah, it is living out of trucks, living out of hotels. You have to be super organized. At least that's what works for me. Just like everything has a place and everything goes back into that place at the end of the day so that when I have to wake up at 4 a.m. to travel to the next rodeo, like I'm not scrambling, like everything is together, we're moving, we're on the road, knowing where I'm going ahead of time. But it is fun. It's a lot, but if anybody wants to do it, you can do it up until the age of 27. So it's a great experience and you will be on the road a lot. But I like
So
that.
I know, and it's thrilling, right? You get
Oh
to
yeah.
go and travel and see all these places and do all of these things. I have such an admiration for all rodeo queens. I've really gotten to be friends with a lot of y'all through my travels and everything I do. Georgia Lieb is also a rodeo queen. She's on our Fabrizio Marketing social media team, and she helps too. So I've learned so much. Hannah Holland is her
Mhm.
sister as well. She was a past Miss Rodeo Washington,
Mhm.
runner up for Miss Rodeo America, I believe.
America.
And so it's amazing to me. I'm just like a sponge, right? I wanna learn all the things. You guys, like you said, okay, you're getting up at 4 a.m. to travel to where you need to, so you know where you need to go.
Mhm.
You have to do it all on your own. Plus you look beautiful. Like, I really kinda
Oh,
wanna
thank
punch
you.
you in the
Yeah.
throat. I look, I mean, why do you always look so
No, you are
pretty?
working out though, like
Yeah. Well, I mean, why do you always look so pretty? You know what I'm saying? But, okay,
Yeah.
so that's one of the things I'll have to just be upfront and honest. When I first got into the rodeo industry, I didn't when you said rodeo queen, it was just like, "Oh, they're a queen," kinda thing.
Mhm.
Meaning, like, I didn't know everything that goes into it. You guys are knowledgeable on all of the things that go, you know the rule book better than we do. You are organized, efficient, you're your own travel agent, you're your
Mhm.
own makeup artist, you have to jump ride horses you have never, I get to haul my horses
Never met.
around and get on them and know what they're gonna do or what they're not gonna do. You have no idea. A lot of times you
I have no
show
idea.
up, you get on, and you're a cowgirl to the through and through. So talk to me about a little bit that goes on behind the scenes as a rodeo queen that maybe people don't really understand.
Yeah, and that's something that I learned too. So I came to queening relatively later in life. And we didn't really have queens where I grew up in California. And so it was a new concept to me when my hometown rodeo brought queening back. And I was like, okay, I'm not really sure what this is about. But after I learned that it really was about being the advocate for rodeo and the Western way of life, being that spokesmodel for rodeo, for the cowboys, for the cowgirls, I was like, oh, this is this is fantastic. We do get to, we get to do the hair and the makeup and I feel like that's in a little bit of a fishing analogy. We're like that shiny little lure, right? That gets people's attention. They're like, "Ooh, what's the crown? What's the earrings?" And then we can hit you with the bam, here's rodeo, right? Like we
We
got to
got
get
you
your
here now.
attention. Exactly. But it is just there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes and I'm still explaining to people on the road about all that we do because I get that a lot, right? Like, "Oh, you just must have an easy job, you just get to look pretty." I'm like, "No, see, like, our cowboys and cowgirls, that's their job. Their job is to rodeo, that's their livelihood, that's what they're doing, that is their job. They're not worried about, how is the media portraying rodeo, right? Like, are we getting PETA at this rodeo? Do we need to dispel any facts? And you guys have your sponsors too. Our job is also the sponsors to make sure that our sponsors are happy and that they're getting their return on investment for what they're putting into us. That's part of our jobs as rodeo queens. Um, our job is to inspire that next generation of cowboys and cowgirls to come up and to join the Western way of life. So, going into the crowds after a rodeo or in between performances is so important. And just, you never know who you're going to touch and who you're going to like reach in and bring that light out of a little child. And so it's so important to just be there, right? Be there in the crowd, be there with the people. If they have any questions, we're there to answer them. And so as rodeo queens, it's kind of like a jack of all trades, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, you never know what's gonna be thrown at you, and that leads
Mm-mm.
me to my next question is, with your schedule, it's crazy, right? It's hectic.
Oh yeah.
How going into a rodeo, let's break this down a little bit more because, like you said, you don't know whether Pete is gonna be there, what facts you need to dispel, what your fan base is. How
Hmm.
are you preparing in advance? Do you prepare like, "Hey, I'm going to 5 rodeos this week. This is kind of the outline for these rodeos." Do you just do that the day of? Like, talk about your preparation and your schedule and knowing when you show up to that rodeo what your place is that day.
Yes. So a lot of times I try to do research beforehand, but a lot of times I'm not gonna lie, it is when I'm pulling in, right?
We're flying
um,
by the
the
seat of
seat
your
of
rock and
my
roll denims.
there we go. Yes.
Yeah.
So it is again, try to do the research beforehand. Sometimes you just don't have that luxury, right? You're traveling in the morning and you got to get to that performance meeting, that production meeting by 5 and you just don't have that time. So, you okay, I'm going to stop and get coffee. I know that. So I'm going to look up this rodeo while I'm getting coffee, while I'm getting my Starbucks, right? You do what you can do. But I always look up the rodeo because you want to get there informed. How much are the tickets? What times does the performance start? Are we having slack 1, 2, 3 all the days. Who's a good contact number? What other events are we having, right? Are we having mutton busting? Who's our clown? Who's our announcer? So getting all of those facts beforehand so that if you get asked, you're knowledgeable on that rodeo because that's your job. You're going to promote that rodeo when you're there. That is your job is to promote that rodeo, that committee, those sponsors while you're there. And so that's kind of that prep going into it. I always like to reach out to my stock contractors too, because they're the ones that are providing me a horse. So
They
I
need to
want to
be
make
your
sure
best friends.
they need to be my best friends. So I always call them up beforehand. The ones that I've worked with before, right? You kind of know when their production meeting's going to be, right? So this person has a production meeting at 5 all the time. This person has one at 5:30, and you just kind of know after you've talked to them once or twice. But especially for new stock contractors, I'll reach out, make sure they don't need anything from me. If they do, try to get that beforehand. See what time their meeting is going to be. Always make sure you show up to the meeting. Like for the queens out there, it is so important because you are not just riding in with a flag. You might be asked to carry sponsor flags. You might be asked to hold the money for the mutton bustin', right? Or for the calf scramble. You never know what your job is. And then you want to be knowledgeable just in case something happens at the rodeo, right? They're like, oh, this person's supposed to go on, right? This person's supposed to go out. And then you can be like, oh, I know that. Let me go look for that person that's supposed to be out there, right? And so that's another prep that you would do beforehand and just get the rodeo information, get the stock contract information, and hopefully know which horse you're riding before you're supposed to go on.
So tell me, I know so my friend Hannah, she also was a past rodeo queen. She has a story, and I'm gonna tell a little bit of it. I'm gonna get her on the podcast to tell it more so, but, she literally is at Puyallup, Washington,
Mhm.
and fixing to go in there, and her horse is going bonkers, and she can't get him to go, and it's crazy. She's like, it's almost her time. She just, like, hops on another horse and just takes off, no stirrups, no
Yeah.
nothing, carrying the flag, like one of her favorite queen memorabilia photos. So tell me, what is one of your stories of a challenging obstacle or instance that's happened so far yet in 2024 for Miss Rodeo USA?
So this was exciting. This was in Hiawassee, and and my horse thought he was a reiner for a second. So I've ridden this horse before. He's been fantastic, fantastic. We've carried like a full size flag on him, right? The ones that'll touch the ground, like huge. He's a fantastic horse. But our clan at that rodeo had this giant rocket ship that he was bringing in with like lights and buzzers and sounds and like all this smoke everywhere. And my horse just thought that that was going to eat him. Like he went into, he was okay when the rocket ship went into the arena. He was okay when it went boom, right? And the gunpowder and everything kind of went off. But then when that rocket ship was coming out, it was my turn and another girl's turn to carry in our sponsor flags. So we're waiting right in the alley, and this rocket ship comes out, and my horse just starts backing up and starts spinning. And there's like cars everywhere, there's children. So I'm trying not to take out like innocent bystanders, right? And try not to drop the flag at the same time. And my horse is just spinning in circles, and I'm kicking him, getting him to go forward, and he's just not having any of it. And then, the first flag girl has to go, right? Because you can't just leave an arena empty. So I'm trying to get this horse to go in. The pickup men are coming in to try and flank me in. And eventually I get my reins short enough. I get him going far enough. The rocket ship, the monster's gone, and then we go in.
And it was
But
good.
for a second, I was like, I'm gonna have car damage. There's gonna be car damage. There's gonna be casualties. And but this horse is a great horse, but he just did not like that rocket ship for some reason. So you just never know. You never know. And so you gotta be okay to ride any kind of horse
Yeah.
and I was a colt starter for a long time, and so I rode a lot of people's different horses, a lot of green horses, a lot of I put a lot of first rides on things, and so I think that really helped me, um, for this year, because, yeah, you never know. A lot of
You
times you're like, "Oh, who's this horse?" And you're like, "I don't remember his name. I met him 5 seconds ago. We just gotta go in and run a flag."
This is my favorite horse. That's who
"This
this
is
is.
my favorite horse.
This
That's
is my
right.
favorite
Isn't he
horse.
pretty?"
Well, and I think that
Oh,
it just sheds light on everything that you guys are faced with. You know, like you said, you're just you never know what's gonna come up, and you have got to be
mhm.
prepared at all times. So, I wanna backtrack just a little bit on you said earlier in the show that your family wasn't involved in queening, like, this was
Mm-mm.
something that you picked. So, why queening?
Yeah.
What was your motivation, incentive, passion to be a rodeo queen?
Yeah. Well, my family, even going farther than that, was not even agriculture based. So I grew up in suburbia, actually, and found the love of the Western way of life via the love of the horse. So I've been riding for forever, and I just knew like this way of life was my calling. And my parents were like, we don't have chickens, right? We've got cats. Like,
Yeah.
where did this come from? And I was like, "I don't know, but I feel very, very strongly about it, so I need to figure out what this calling is so that I can help the industry and so that I can be a part of this, like, fantastic industry." And, so for me, it was just trying to find kind of that niche and where I belonged in the Western industry, because not coming from it, I wasn't really sure what path I wanted to take. Um, and when the rodeo cleaning position when competition came up in my hometown, I was like, well, I'll give it a try, right? I love advocating for ag and Western, and I'd been a Girl Scout for a long time. And so my job was advocating for conservation and preservation of like natural resources and rangelands and things like that. And California, where I grew up, it was very agricultural based. So I did grow up in kind of like that, you know, farm, we did ranch, and that was kind of my community's heritage. And rodeo queening just kind of that it was that like seamless transition, right? From advocating for natural resources and conservation to advocating for the preservation of the Western way of life. And I found that I could do that from a rodeo queen platform. And so I ran and I won my first rodeo queen competition in my hometown. And from there, I just learned more about it because, again, I didn't really know what the purpose of queens were until I really started researching it. And I was like, this really aligns with my core values and like my mission statement in life. So from there, I learned about Miss Rodeo America and Miss Rodeo USA, and it just things kind of fell into place. They really just fell into place, and I couldn't be more blessed to have this experience this year.
And I think too, like, you're halfway through your year, right? And
Hmm.
so I know you've had some amazing experiences. You are gearing up and getting ready to have amazing, finish your year and all the
Yeah.
great rodeos that are coming up, great experiences that you've had. So this is probably like you might give me a couple different answers next time I talk to you and have you on the show sometime. What's the biggest impact or a couple stories of the biggest impact that
Hmm.
you've seen that you've made so far, whether it's at the rodeo with the youth, representing rodeo? Like give me some insight there.
Yeah. So I definitely have a couple that come to mind. I mean, the youth stories are always so important for me, at least, um, because growing up, I thought the coolest thing you could do was carry a flag at a rodeo, be a flag girl. Like, I didn't know how to, I want to be a breakaway roper, but I didn't know how to start being a breakaway roper. I didn't know how to start, where to get it, my foot in the door. And so for me, the youth stories are so important because it's just showing them that door, right? Being like, if you want to be involved in this way of life in any capacity, this is where you start. You can start here. You can be a mutton buster. You can be a rodeo queen. Like, here are all these different opportunities and avenues that you can take to get started at a younger age than what I did. And so all of those stories I think are just so important. And it's just asking them to come back to the rodeo next year, right? Because you want to make sure that they are coming back, that they're learning, because they're going to learn something new every year. um, and then something else that I really love about rodeo, about the IPRA and our community, the Western community in general, is the impacts that it makes on adults too. because I feel like sometimes we forget about adults.
Yeah, I
um,
agree. I
you
agree.
know, um, I love the stories of this is my first rodeo and I want to come back. And I will take that time. For me, I'm like, let's talk about it, right? What are you liking? What do you have questions about? What drew you to your first rodeo? And so I love to explore that with people, and especially at the end of that conversation where they go, I want to come back next year. This is so much fun. I've been so welcomed. I love that. I love hearing that. I've been so welcomed into this community, and I think that's really special. I had a guy from New York. He was in Georgia for a business trip, and he and his buddies decided to come down to the rodeo. They're like, "Oh, we're on a work trip, but we just wanted to do something this weekend, so we came down to the rodeo. We've never been to one, and we're from New York." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And they're like, "We hear all these terrible things about rodeo in New York, how it's like animal abuse and how it's racist, it's sexist, it's blah 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 blah." But they're like, "We haven't seen any of that here." And I'm like, Well, here's why it's not animal abuse, right? We can go through these like A, B, C, D, ask me questions, I'll tell you." And I go, I can't speak for other people's experiences, but from my personal experience being a woman of Latina descent, like I haven't felt any discrimination. I haven't, and same thing for a lot of the other people that I've talked to. That's what we love about rodeo. It doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter your skin color, your orientation, like, we just want you here and to have a good time with us, like, share in our way of life. We love that. And he actually messaged me on Instagram later, and he's like, "Here's a picture of us. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and, like, not just brush me off because I was from New York." He's like, "I'm a Jewish man, and seeing that we still, like, have a prayer and a national anthem and that I was so welcomed, like, I will be going to rodeos from now on." And
Awesome.
that just made my heart happy, you know? Like, just made
Well,
my
and
heart happy.
especially in the world today, right? And I'm so glad you brought that point up because I haven't ever really thought about it that way. We're not sexist, we're not racist,
Mhm.
we come as we are, and we're cowboys and cowgirls, right?
Yes.
And so I think that I love that perspective because it's like I've never thought of it that way. And so being able
Yeah.
to communicate that and share those experiences, I love how you said I'm getting to share this experience with these people. And
Yes.
like you said, I can't, say how your experience was. That's yours. That's yours to take, choose, whatever you want to do. But this is the experience I've had. And so getting to share that is really amazing that you're
Mhm.
getting that opportunity to
Oh,
be
yeah.
that voice for rodeo and create, one of the biggest things think I can see as an athlete that we're lacking is and we have a great, a fan base is great, but it's like, how do we continue to, like you said, share those experiences, create that fan base, grow it, bring awareness to the sport, right? Because I think one of the things for me is like, rodeo, if you're a part of rodeo when you're at any point, you're always going to be a part of rodeo, right? If it's whether you compete, whether you own a horse, whether you don't, like if it's ever been a part of your life, you're a longtime fan of rodeo. And how can we create and bring in more of those that maybe didn't grow up with it? Like you said, you had no experience and or background in it. And now
Yep.
you'll forever, your family, your family's family will always be involved in rodeo. So how do we create more of that in the
Yes.
outside world looking in?
Yes, and I love that you brought that up because your fan base is so strong, right? Like yours in particular, but like everybody's, they're doing a great job with the Kid Rock Rodeo. They're bringing in these fans that are hardcore fans, and you're like, okay, we need this sport to grow, right? I mean, that's just that's just business in general, right? We want things to grow. Of course, we need to protect our heritage and preserve our history, but like let's bring in more people. Let's get that excitement growing to see us on a stage like the NBA, right? Or NFL. We want those kind of fans because not only do they bring the energy and like the good vibes, right? But like they bring in the next generation that's going to come after us. And I think that's really important for rodeo queens, especially to kind of keep in mind is that our job is to bring up that next generation and get them excited for all aspects of rodeo and ag.
Yeah. Well, and I love that. And I think you nailed it on the head. I want to go into a little bit about you. I think that everybody, there's at some point, you guys all do the same job, right? You have the same expectations, you have the same commitments, all the things, rodeo queens in general. Tell
Mhm.
me a little bit more about Kaelanne. Tell
Well,
me,
me,
what is your style? What sets you apart? Tell me just a little bit more about you in general as a person out of the arena.
okay. So out of the arena, let's see. I've always wanted to be in the arena. Like, let's just
She's
start
like, "I
by
don't
that.
wanna be out of the arena. What are you
I love
talking
it.
about?"
I love the arena. Like that was my first love was horses. And so I grew up on the Central Coast of California. Like I loved where I grew up. It was so fun, so beautiful. Like if you ever get a chance to visit like Pismo Beach or like Avila or Carmel area, you got to go because we have some of the best food in the world. We have some of the best views in the world. So it is a fantastic place to grow up. Um, but I think the love of the horse and the outdoors has really always driven me. So, like I said, I was a Girl Scout. So that was a large part of my identity for 18 plus years. Actually, I'm still a Girl Scout. I am a lifetime member. So I
There
can
you
get
go.
back into scouting whenever I want. But I grew up and I was
I like the
absolutely
mint chocolate chip cookies, if you were wondering. Mhm.
oh, good. Those are my
Yeah.
favorite too.
Okay.
You
Good
freeze
talk.
them and you put them on ice cream. They're
Yeah, I
so
have
good.
several packages frozen. It's
Oh,
not even
good.
cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. I was like,
Yeah.
I could probably hook you up with more if you need some. Um, but a large portion of my life was spent camping and in the outdoors. So I spent every summer in a tent or not in a tent and just under the stars and experiencing like all of nature's beauty and really being able to have a respect for our natural resources, which would later tumble into what our farmers and ranchers do because they really do respect our earth and they want to make sure that it's prosperous, not just for now and them, but for the future generations. And so that kind of laid that foundation. Um, been riding horses for forever. I'm pretty sure my parents thought it was going to be a phase, but it's not a phase.
You're like, "Hey, mom and dad, this is not a phase.
It's
We're still
not going
doing it."
away. Sorry. um, and so I did that for a long time. My love of God and country comes from my dad. So he's a Marine, and that really impacted like how much I love America. And I don't think it's a bad thing to love America. And I love that our cowboys and cowgirls still hold true to those values. So kind of that set the stage for that as well. Um, and so I feel like I had a very untraditional path to the crown. Um, but all of those things laid a very, very deep foundation for what I'm trying to do with my platform this year. Um, but other than that, I like to ride horses. I like to hike. I like to take long car rides, which is perfect for this year because I am always in
Yeah,
the car.
you're gonna get you some of that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I love all kinds of animals. I just like being outside. Like, um, I I spent a long time in school. I have my undergrad from Cal Poly in California and my master's from Texas A&M. And I saw you went to West Texas A&M,
Yep.
so we're both Aggies.
Aggies.
Um, Aggies, but I like being outside. I had a corporate job for a little bit, and I learned so much by that. But I enjoy being outside. Like that's where Kaylin is happy. If she's on the back of a horse, if she's trail riding somewhere, she's happy. That's
That's good.
basically me in a nutshell.
I love it. So you talked a little bit about your platform that you've been given this year and some of the things you wanna do with it. What are some of the things that you haven't already done that your expectations are to finish out the year 2024?
Yes. So we get a platform, and actually, we have as Miss Rodeo USA, we go into the pageant with a platform, and then if you win, you're expected to kind of carry that platform and that name of it through to the end of your term. So mine is nose to the grindstone, eyes to the rhinestones, which is basically just a fun way of saying work hard to achieve your dreams. Um, and it's not my intent to make every little boy or little girl a cowgirl out there, but in the larger scheme of things, if I can help you achieve your dreams, if I can show you different avenues or different doors to be able to make a change in your life, and even for adults too, like I don't think it's ever too late to pivot and to do something else, right? So to make a new career path, to find a new passion or new hobby. If I can do that or inspire people in that way, then I feel like I've fulfilled my platform for the year. And so something I'd still like to do is probably just try and reach more people. We meet so many people on the road, but it just always feels like I can reach more. Like, and the podcast is a great way to do it. Social media is a great way to do it. Just making sure I'm busy. Like, I'm booked probably 35 different weeks this year. So just I just want to reach more people. There's definitely some events I'd still like to do, and I have a schedule going to be posted pretty soon about what my summer run is going to look like, and then what the fall and winter is going to look like. Um, so there's definitely some events coming up that I'd like to do, but probably just reach more people, and then and then keep it going because I think that the platform that I chose it kind of wide for a reason, because it's something that I think is applicable to anybody at any stage in their life and that I can carry forward after the crown.
Absolutely, and that was my next question is, after the crown, what goals or aspirations? I know you've gotta have a few things in mind. I know you're obviously it's like, "Hey, this is what I'm facing for the next 30 some weeks," so focus on that, obviously. But what are some doors you would like to see open after the crown?
Definitely. So that's me though. I'm always trying to plan 5, 10 steps ahead. It's like the ADHD in me.
Yeah.
Um, but I would like to keep doing this afterwards. And I've had people kind of like laugh at that and they're like, "You want to keep being a rodeo queen?" I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." Like take a step back for a second. So all of those things that we talked about earlier, I want to keep doing that because I feel like I've found my niche and I've found my passion of promoting ag and rodeo and the Western way of life and being able to bring in sponsors and to represent the sponsors that we have well and to get a new fan base and to bring up that fan base. Um, so I don't really know what the job title is for that. I can't just call myself a professional like rodeo queen. That's not a thing. But if I can keep doing this general spectrum of things next year, then I think that would be fantastic.
You could call yourself professional advocate for the sport of rodeo, inspirational,
Yes.
monumental, beautiful girl with, great queen wings. I mean, we could go
Oh,
anywhere
thank
we
you. We
want with
could,
it.
yeah. I mean, we could make. I'm all about making up your own job title and being an entrepreneur. So
Amen,
we're
hallelujah.
gonna do
That's
that,
why,
right?
we've got about 10 different jobs here in my house. We've got podcast host, we've got marketing, website design, we've
Hmm.
got breakaway roper. I don't know if I can call myself a cook yet. My husband says it's getting there, but not quite
Okay,
there. So, yeah,
that's
still working
okay.
on that.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
so just involved exactly. Create the life you want. That's something that I have
Yes,
written on my mirror this year is create the life that you want. And so I
I
love
love
that
that.
you're like, "You know what? Why not? I'm gonna create my own job title and create what I wanna
Yeah.
do."
Exactly, and I love that, and you're, like, manifesting it, right? That's what writing it out. Firm believer in, like, having a vision board, writing it out,
Mhm.
just being that I don't wanna sound like a Gen Z, but, like, being the manifestation girly, right? Like,
Yeah,
being like, "I'm putting it out to the universe, it's gonna come back. If I worked for it, it's gonna come back." Like, I'm
yep,
a firm believer in that.
100%. So, I ask everybody, Kaylin, that comes on my show, if you had to go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be and why?
So, oh, younger Kaylin was really stubborn, so so I hope she would listen. But I would probably say to don't be discouraged by how many different paths that you've tried or taken. For me, if I were to draw a map of 5-year-old Kaylin to Miss Rodeo USA Kaylin, it's not a straight line. Like there was a lot of branches, there was a lot of circling back. So I would just give my younger self, especially teen to like undergrad. That was a very like tumultuous, what am I doing with my life? I'm trying all these things. I don't know, what's going to happen. I'm being told that horses just need to be my hobby. They're not going to be like in your life forever. Um, just work a job to make enough money to afford the horses and they'll be secondary. Just keep going with your gut. And that's I feel like such a big thing for other people out there that are like, I'm 18, I don't know what I want to do. I'm 16, I don't want to do. I'm 22, I don't know what I want to do. Just keep going with your gut. Just try new things And if you have to circle back, if you have to pivot, it's okay because if you have a larger goal in mind, you're going to get there one way or the other. And it doesn't really matter how many paths you take. All of those things you can learn something from, right? You can take tools from, being a Girl Scout, being a consultant, being a program coordinator, being a teacher, being a TA. You can take all of those tools and put them in your toolbox for whatever your passion or your end goal is.
I love that, and it's really it reminds me of the fact that I'm 33 years old and I still don't know what I wanna do when I grow up. And I think that it's
Right.
always got to be that way, right? Because when you quit learning, when you quit challenging yourself and aspiring and rising up and breaking those upper limits, then,
Yep.
it's like I think you almost die a little bit in the inside, if not, externally,
Oh.
which we're all dying, right? We're all on the last
We're
cruise,
all.
and so I think that that's great advice to stick with your gut, to go with what you believe in. Don't let other people project limits on you. Like do what your
Mm-mm.
heart is and go after it and you'll find a way. And I love that.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Kaylin, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on In the Loop today. I know your schedule is so hectic, so busy. What's coming up for you these next few weeks?
Coming up for me the next few weeks is Arkansas. So we're having a new IPRA rodeo. This will be the first performance ever in Mulberry, Arkansas for Lost Trails Ranch. So if you're in that area, come say hi. And then I will make it out to Little Britches. So congratulations and good luck to all of those young cowboys and cowgirls. I'm hoping to see you the last couple days of the Little Britches. And then it's off to another part of Oklahoma for the youth finals, the IFYR and our teen pageant. So good luck to all the ladies competing at Miss Rodeo USA Teen. It's a great opportunity, and you can still compete for if you win teen. Like some people don't know this because they're like, oh, it's a national title. If you win teen, you can still compete for state. You can still compete for Miss Rodeo Texas. You can still compete for Miss Rodeo Washington. You can still compete for Miss Rodeo America. And you can come back and still compete for Miss Rodeo USA. So just because it is a national title at the teen level, it doesn't stop you from competing at the Miss level. Um, but that's where you can find me the next few weeks. And thank you so much for having me on today. This has been awesome. And I
Yeah.
enjoyed meeting you at WCRA. That was such a cool event.
It was a cool event, and that's what I love about what we get to do, right? We get to come on here and tell the stories of the people that we meet outside of the arena, inside of the arena, all the things, and I know that next time I see you, you'll be inside of the arena on the back of a horse. Can't wait to see you. I hope our paths cross this summer. Kaelanne Quinonez, Miss Rodeo USA, thank you so much for taking the time today, and we'll see you down the road.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jordan. See you down the road.